I have a guest within our midst here. So there are a couple of questions that we're going to be interacting with that guest in the light of the same theme that we are looking at. So we'll be talking about strengthening MSMEs through innovative support. I think in the past we've been talking more about SMEs, but now we are adding that other M. So by now I trust we know what we mean by MSMEs. Was that acronym will be coming out frequently in the course of our discussion. So we're talking about that concept altogether. So next there. Once again, warm greetings or blessed greetings, everyone. It's an honor to be here among aspiring managers or maybe runners of different entrepreneurship support organizations out there. As I've indicated, my name is Elijah Lumbaini Mkandawire, better known as Elijah, and I serve as the, whether I can call it as a CEO or MD or executive director. I don't know what makes sense there, but yeah, that's it for MHub. So MHub, we are the meeting hub in full, but we are an entrepreneurship, technology, but also innovation hub in Malawi. So I do work with quite a lot of young innovators, startups, as well as change makers across Malawi and the region there. So just context setting in terms of our masterclass here. This session has been designed just more intentional with an intent of delivering high focused but also high impact learning that blends expert insights with hands-on application. So I trust in this room we have the practitioners in as far as entrepreneurship, innovation, but also tech landscape in the country is concerned. So session objectives. Pretty much we want to look at the following issues by the end of this particular session. Expose ESOs to global and regional trends. That is to help us, the participants, myself inclusive, understand how support organizations are evolving globally and what lessons can be adopted locally. So we try to learn what's happening in the global context, and then we're going to bring that, we're going to water it down to our context here in Malawi. And then we should be able to equip each other or equip us with practical strategies, more like providing an actionable tools and frameworks that we as ESOs or maybe players in the entrepreneurship ecosystem can use to better support the startups that we are supporting in our country here. And then we're going to also achieve the fostering of stakeholder collaboration. Pretty much we have seen that in Malawi. Cohesion approach in as far as ESOs is concerned is a bit more lacking when you compare with what's happening in the other ecosystems within the SADC region, but also even with the other regions altogether. So perhaps this could be an opportunity for us to foster pretty much significant collaborations among us as players within this particular sector. Now, a bit more clarity to be enhanced. Understand we are all experts in this particular field, but there are these terminologies which these modern days, they keep on coming. ESOs, ISO, we hear about incubator, you hear about accelerator, a tech hub, then you hear about a BDSP. So Image Live will say, no, we are a business incubator. The name hub will say, oh, so we are a business accelerator. So sometimes you really end up mixing up all these things all together. So this slide is just giving us some insights into what an ESO is all about, what an ISO is all about. So you'll be able to see that there's a thin line of separation amongst this particular kind of players within the ecosystem. But all you know, our today's subject is on ESO. Others could say enterprise support organization. Yeah, perfect. Others would say maybe entrepreneurship support organization. Yeah, that's quite okay as well. But ESO provides general support to entrepreneurs. So the general support could include the mentorship, could include the networking, could include the trainings there. But also even it could go further by even facilitating access to finance for the entrepreneurs, which it is actually training. Maybe from the audience, what do you think could be some of the practical examples that you can have in the Malawian context for the ESOs? I didn't write there deliberately. From the group, what could be quick examples of ESOs that you know in Malawi? Equip. Okay, great. Yeah. I think we have also worked with them in one of our projects on the same. Yeah, another example, at least 2 or 3, because the Bible says that at least in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, a word shall be what? Established. So at least you have another witness on that. What's another example? Oh, what kind of a class is this? Guys, I thought another example of ESO that you know in Malawi. Mm-hmm. Image live roots. Then here also I was hearing. Okay, MHAB. All right, great. Good. So that's an ESO. And then we have also ISO. ISO simply means Innovation Support Organization. So these ones will focus on nurturing innovation through research, prototyping, as well as commercialization support. So for example, we have NCST, and we have the conference that is happening starting on Tuesday, where now they're also trying to disseminate different technologies, but also research findings in as far as innovation is concerned. And then you find that sometimes an ESO can also even evolve to become an ISO there. That's why I'm saying there's pretty much a thin line of separation amongst these things. But it's pretty much good that we should be more shrewd as regards to these particular terminologies. And then we have also an incubator. An incubator. So, I mean, someone mentioned here that is coming from Zanchito. And Zanchito, pretty much, I think we are into incubation, right? Yeah, so maybe an incubator will support early stage startups. Others will call them as budding entrepreneurs, perhaps with workspace, mentorship, but also even basic what? Funding. And then we have also accelerator, which helps growth stage startups, those that have been incubated, but now they want to grow further. So that's why it's called accelerator. I think learning from maybe automobile language, whereby when you press that gas pedal, you are able to accelerate the speed of your vehicle there. So these ones is for growth, so that they can reach a bigger marathons altogether. In Malawi, we have had the growth, not in Malawi, but for example, like in East Africa, we have had a Growth Africa, and we work them also as MHub in the Growth Accelerator Malawi program altogether. And then we have also tech hubs. So tech hubs will provide co-working space, but also they'll foster tech community through events as well as collaborations. So even like us, MHub, we do also call ourselves as a tech hub, simply because we are also pretty much into development of various tech solutions altogether. And then we have this one called as a BDSP. So this one is a business development service provider. So this could be an individual, it can be a company, or it can be an organization that is offering non-financial services to help businesses, especially those that are in their early stage of development, so that they can grow and even become a bit more sustainable. So you notice that there are some organizations that are wearing different hats from this, right? Even your own. Perhaps you might be a BDSP, at the same time you're also an incubator, at the same time you're also an ESO. So it just depends on what kind of a program are you doing at that particular time, perhaps can define who you are at that particular time. So even like myself, I'm managing MHub, we do also wear different hats along these particular lines. So sometimes we do work as an incubator, and then also we switch to an accelerator, and then also as an ESO, and also as an ESO, and also as a tech hub, and also perhaps as a BDSP altogether. Now, let's go further by looking at the landscape in Malawi in as far as MSME sector is concerned. So I'll talk about what is characterizing the landscape. Yeah, you can do the next slide there. Okay. So, number one, you notice that within our landscape, we have what we call as a limited financial literacy. So perhaps it's an area that sometimes we don't focus much, because I know much of our focus has been always on access to capital, or maybe those challenges which our SMEs struggle when it comes to accessing capital, either from the banks or from another source of funding altogether. But we do forego the financial literacy component. Someone has said that it's better to give a startup or an entrepreneur what they can call as an intelligent capital, meaning that he is an entrepreneur who has vast knowledge in terms of how best can that particular capital or that funding opportunity could be utilized. So you notice that in our country here, a lot of our SMEs, or better still MSMEs, they struggle to articulate their business models or even also their financials. For us that have been on different platforms serving as panelists or like judges of different pitching competitions, you notice that it becomes a bit hard for our entrepreneurs to explain clearly what exactly is their business model and how are they doing in as far as their financials are concerned. And that one becomes a penny point for an investor, because an investor will not be able to bring in external finance in a business that is not coming out clear in terms of like its model and its financial trajectory. And then also the same applies to poor investor readiness. Sound business ideas out there, sound efforts which they are making, good. But now when you visit them sometimes, you find that they are not ready for an investment. You notice that I think someone mentioned here about the issue of say that when you issue a call for application for a particular program, you get almost applications from the very same kind of applicants. Okay, fine. But they have applied, and then you have filtered the applications, and you are visiting them for a very diligence, or better still, a due diligence. You notice that you sometimes ask for basic records. For example, like maybe production records from an entrepreneur who wants to be invested. They tell you that they don't have. Okay, so they're producing a particular product, but they can't record to say, yesterday we produced so much quantity. But he is an entrepreneur who wants an investment from an investor. So such kind of things, they really put them at a very big disadvantage. So they might be complaining to say funding opportunities are quite scarce, but the question is, how investment ready are they? How organized are they? Using the locally available resources or using the least cost resources which they can manage? Others will say, no, it's hard for me to keep Legos because I don't have a computer. But you can say you can buy just a hardcover as cheap as it is, and then you're able to use your ruler, you demarcate the lines, the tables there, you're able to put your records there so that you're able to track how your production is going like. And then I remember NICO, they have also their program to do with innovation funds, and I was doing some trainings in Zoom. So we're asking some of these aspiring innovators, like, do you have a business account? So that when you pass through this stage, when NICOM is transferring the funds, are able to transfer the funds into your business account. Pretty much most of them, surprisingly, were like, we don't have a business account. So I was like, where will the money be sent to? Will they send it to your PAMP account? Or maybe they're going to send it to Airtel Money. So you look at such kind of simple things, but quite critical, which our SMEs need to look into. And then we have what I can call like fragmented support systems. So what I'm trying to say is that we as ASOS, we're also to blame on this one because we do operate in silos, little coordination or little shared learning. Wangi and I, we were involved into this other program, Make IT in Africa, and we were privileged. We went to Namibia at one time for the same program, and then also we went to Zambia the other year for the same program. But what Make IT in Africa we are fostering was collaborations of the ecosystem players. And they even came here, and they had actually a pledge of a bigger funding. But the challenge was that in Malawi, the ecosystem players are a bit more fragmented. Everybody wants to do a thing in his or her own way. Perhaps maybe it's a competition mode, I don't know, but that becomes a challenge in as far as the support that we want to lend to our entrepreneurs altogether. So that kind of approach is putting the SMEs at a disadvantage. And then we have this one, which is a bit more positive, despite those particular challenges, but our sector is also characterized by an interesting thing, where we have now opportunities in youth and agriculture. So what I'm trying to say is that the youth population of Malawi, as we know that a bigger proportion is a youth, and then our economy, it's agrarian in nature. But when you combine these two, youth population and then agrarian economy, they are presenting what I can call like fairly unique opportunities for innovation or for green enterprise, as well as a digital transformation. Because young people, they are not raggards in as far as adoption of tech is concerned. They are more willing to adopt tech at a very faster rate. As MHub, we had the privilege of learning what we were calling as AYUTE. AYUTE is an acronym for Agriculture, Youth, and Technology. It was a challenge. So we are doing this on behalf of HIFA International. When we had now the grand finale of the program at BICC, where the best innovators were pitching for their innovations, you could be amazed by such interesting ideas which young people really were pitching before the panel. It was quite interesting. You're like, these things are happening here in Malawi. So, I mean, it's these challenges, but looking into the future, if this opportunity could be well harnessed, something big can really come out there. The youth population combined with the agrarian economy, we can be able to harness some good results from there. Now, let's push a bit quickly. I can see time is really running. Let's talk about evolution of our ESOs globally. What's happening in the global context, and then perhaps we can try to bring it home and see how best we can localize here. So you notice that what's happening globally is that ESOs are now evolving from just being service providers to ecosystem builders as well as connectors. Okay, so most of ESOs are not just like service providers altogether, but now they're even moving further to become ecosystem builders as well as connectors. So they are building networks. They are facilitating access to finance, as I mentioned, access to markets, but also they are pushing in mentorship, as well as driving innovation, but also even policy influence. Even here in Malawi, the ESOs are pushing for the policy influence, though it's happening at a snail's pace, but I trust that, yeah, we should be able to get there, okay? But also you notice that most of the ESOs today, they are trying to strive for holistic support models. So I'm talking about integrating the mentorship, as I've said already, the funding, the market access, and policy advocacy. At this juncture, we can have a very good example of image livelihoods. For those of you that have been following them, you could be able to understand why they rebranded from Zuzu eHub to image livelihoods. Pretty much, it's an idea to do with this particular evolution, where you don't just see them as a service provider, but pretty much as an ecosystem builder, as a connector, even also as a funding vehicle altogether to our entrepreneurs. I hope Wange, you explained that already. Okay. All right. So, the emerging global trends could be classified as follows. We are seeing digital incubation. We are now online platforms are being used for mentorship, for training, and even networking. So this also could be very useful in rural Malawi, much as maybe our minds could just be intrigued to say maybe this can work for the urban setup. Physical gatherings are quite good, and I believe that that's God's design method for people to connect. But also in this particular digital era, utilization of online platforms is also becoming very, very practical. So, for instance, I'll give an example of our institution. we are working on a concept with GIZ where we want to train about 231 budding entrepreneurs. These are women-led businesses in Malawi, but we're gonna pretty much rely on online platforms to do that. You can see the number is so huge, 231. I mean, physical interactions with them might not always be easy. It might be costly and a bit more tedious altogether, but we want to pivot towards online platforms. So this is what's happening now in these modern times, whereby the ESOs are also moving towards digital incubation. What about the rural areas? Yes, they might have some networking challenges, but that's another area that we can explore and be able to see how best to reach out to more of them in their rural settings, even using the online means altogether. And then we have what I can call like a blended finance. A good example, so even Image has also their Image Fund element. So under the blended finance is where now we are seeing ESOs facilitating access to finance to the entrepreneurs, not only from the single type of finance altogether, but they could be combining grants, they're able to combine equity, but also even debts, financing altogether with an intent of reducing actually the risk that could come from those particular kind of finance investments. I think some spellings it has there, my apologies. And then we're also able to see some green acceleration, like the example that I gave about the 231 SMEs that we want to support. The focus is on those that are into climate smart businesses. And that's why I said that agriculture, combining it with a youth population, it's an opportunity for us. Because at the moment now, a lot of our ESOs or a lot of the funding agencies in this particular space are quite interested in green businesses. I can see also the WUSC, they are here. I think on Tuesday, we had some discussions. Is it Tuesday or Monday? I think not here. I think we are discussing about this area of green kind of like business. How best can we as incubators, accelerators, can be able to integrate this in our programming? So it's becoming quite handy in these particular days. And then we have impact measurements. That is also very, very important. So using tools like theory of change, TOCs, as well as also SDG alignment, so that we're able to track real-world outcomes, not just outputs there. Whereby now you are able to align a particular objective of this particular programming to a specific SDG goal. Out of those, is it 17 or SDG goals that are there? You're able to pick out which ones are your programs contributing to. And then we have inclusive innovation, ensuring that women, youth, as well as our rural entrepreneurs are not left behind. And this explains why there's some other programs that are just specifically focused on women. Am I correct? Another program that you know in Malawi that just focus on women entrepreneurs. Do you know any? Any programming that you know? Okay, so MHub, we have learned our. This has been academy for women entrepreneurs. So that has been just purely women-focused program, just to ensure that inclusion element is also there. Now, what do these trends mean for Malawi? Much as maybe some examples have been given about Malawi, but we can talk about issues of collaboration and partnerships, very important, as I've said already. Shared knowledge and learning. That's why summits like these ones, which Image has organized, very, very important. And that's why when I even got the invitation at in the States, I mean, this is maybe the business schedule, but I was like, no, this is an opportunity so that we foster the collaborations, we foster the shared knowledge and learning culture, you know? So, in Malawi here, for example, we have MAP, as you mentioned already, as an example of ESO, Synergy, we have Image, we have Untar Foundation, we have Duga Africa, Next Gen also, they are doing the same thing there altogether. So this is now the time whereby we need to look to each other, not as competitors per se, but as complementary organizations within the ecosystem. We need to be working together to foster one goal and one agenda. You know, sometimes the competition model comes in not from we, the leaders, but it comes from our juniors. Do you know that? That's what I've discovered. That they all say, no, look, no, those ones, they are doing this. Can we do maybe something like this? No, so we're like, no. We're not competing. Rather, we are working together towards achieving a one goal. So we need to collaborate. We need to share the knowledge. We need to learn together. However, you notice that we as ESOs as well, we are facing different challenges altogether in this particular country. So limited internet access, it's one of it. And then we have also a few local investors, as well as a policy gap. There's been a lot of debate on, the startup bill? And then I saw some conversations around this one, you call it what? Is it SME bill, right? People have been pushing, but I think it just died naturally. I don't know where it is. Maybe Tuone can brief us on that. But I think policy gaps are still existing in country, and that's affecting our work as ESOs. And then also we have few local investors that are able to come in and support. Most of us, we are learning on our programs, relying on our external financing that is coming from other donors from other countries altogether. But where do we get support from the local investors? And now you notice that the donor funding space is shrinking and it's becoming crazy. And the USAID scenario saga, I think it's a very good example. It's a testament to that. So I trust even some of us here, we are affected by that, right? Isn't it? Yes. So even our set at EMWAB, we had a program by USAID. We were really heavily affected by the President Donald Trump's stop order. So these are the days whereby we need to take our eyes off the investors abroad and start trying to see what we can do locally here. However, amidst those challenges, we have opportunities. So things like mobile penetration, donor interest. Yes, a lot of donors that are quite interested in what we are doing here in Malawi. And then also we have youth-led innovation. And at the moment now, I'm seeing a lot of funding also being driven towards youth-led organization. So Image Livelihoods, our Safe M-Hub, we're also implementing the Going Beyond partnering for a youth-led future program funded by Masterclass Foundation, but through Digital Opportunity Trust. Now, this one is a youth-led program whereby they are focusing on youth-led organizations or youth-saving organizations. So these sectors where it's really quite interesting. It's something that we can harness on as an opportunity amidst all these particular challenges. Now, I want to take you through this particular group work. I don't know if time is gonna permit us, but I think we need to do this. I want you to imagine designing the next gen ESO, okay, the next generation enterprise or entrepreneurship support organization. What do you think it could look like along the following metrics? So number one, the first metric is on the funding model. Okay, how would you structure financing that's issues to do with grants, equity, or revolving funds in your ESO? I know you're already maybe running a particular ESO, but I want you to think different and say, we want to design a new ESO altogether. How best gonna we structure it based on what we have discussed in the previous slides? And then another metric that we're gonna focus on is on the service offerings. What mix of trainings, mentorship, and market access would you provide? And then we're going to also look at strategic partnerships. Who would you collaborate with? Are you going to collaborate with banks, universities, academia, or government entities? I don't know, but you'll be able to discuss in your groups there. And then tech integration. How do you plan to mainstream the usage of digital tools, as we have discussed there, to say that online or internet incubation is also becoming useful in these days. So how gonna you plan to use digital tools to reach remote entrepreneurs? Someone in Parome there, someone in Maraka, Sanje there, someone in Imisuku, Chitiba there, someone in typically in Mpelembe there. How gonna you reach those particular entrepreneurs that are set up in rural areas? And then also, but using technology. And then also we have Lulo outreach. What strategies would you ensure inclusion of a Lulo MSME? So I think there's a thin line of separation between the tech there, integration, as well as the Lulo outreach there. So I want us just to break up into maybe two